He was spat on, he was insulted, he was beaten, but he kept going at it like a crazy person. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking so far, like, what is wrong with this man? What does he not just go back home? He keeps walking around until he runs into one of the leaders of the Mau Mau gang, one of the most dangerous gangs in New York. Have you ever been at a crossroad in your life? When you look back, you know that at that specific moment in time, your life was transformed and altered forever. I had such an episode, and I will be sharing it with you. In this short video, I will be discussing purpose, your purpose, my purpose, God's calling on our lives, the choice that we have to accept it or reject it, the inconvenience of following that call, and finally, the consequences of following the call or rejecting it. I will be doing this by sharing a quick story on David Wilkerson's life. Who was David Wilkerson? He was a peaceful little preacher in a rural area of Pennsylvania. He had his nice little church. It had been newly renovated. He had a lovely wife at home and children. Everything was peaceful, peaceful. No drama there. Until one night, when he was reading the Life magazine, and he was reading about this really sad story of 7 young delinquents in New York that were in trial for murder. He could have just licked his finger and flipped over the page, but he read the entire article and he started weeping and weeping and weeping. He couldn't stop crying. He kept feeling that feeling of, go to New York, go save those boys. Go to New York, go save those boys. He says, wait a minute. So he went to talk to his wife and to his church members, and he prayed on it, and it became very clear he just had to go and do what he could to help those boys. Packed up his suitcase, went to New York. He was blocked in every way possible. He tried to make it to the courthouse to try to talk to those boys, and he was blocked. He was blocked. There was no way to get through, to the point that the judge even kicked him out, and he was really kicked out of court because he was just annoying them too much. So he made it to the point where it would have been easy. He tried to go save those boys. He didn't get the chance. He could have just packed up his suitcase and gone back home in his lovely home in Pennsylvania. But no, instead of that, what did he start doing? Yes, you're right. He started just roaming the streets of New York, preaching the gospel and the love of God to whoever wanted to hear it, in very dangerous areas. He was spat on, he was insulted, he was beaten, but he kept going at it like a crazy person. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking so far, like, what is wrong with this man? What does he not just go back home? Go back home, sir. But no, he keeps walking around until he runs into one of the leaders of the Mau Mau gang, one of the most dangerous gangs in New York, Nicky Cruz, young Nicky Cruz. And David Wilkerson, what do you think he started doing? Yeah, he started preaching at young Nicky. I love you, Nicky. Jesus loves you. You're not alone. And he kept coming at him until Nicky, he got pissed off. Like, what is he doing? Hey, go to hell, preacher. Don't talk to me. If you take one more step towards me, I'm going to kill you. To which Pastor Wilkerson responded, even if you were to cut me up in millions of pieces and you put me on the sidewalk, every single one of those pieces would be screaming back at you, I love you, Nicky. I love you, Nicky. I love you, Nicky. More beating and spitting occurred after that point. But essentially, 2 weeks later, Nicky was haunted by all those words of love and compassion, and that kept pouring towards him from Pastor David Wilkerson. So he gave his life over to God 2 weeks later. Guess what? Nicky became an evangelist preacher. Yes, one of the leaders of a dangerous gang of New York became an evangelist preacher. And his minister helped millions and millions and turned so many souls to Christ by his message, the power of his message. And you can read all the details. Everything I just told you right now can be found in 2 different books, Run Baby Run by Nicky Cruz and The Cross and the Switchblade by Pastor David Wilkerson. Please, they explain it much better than I do, but I just shared my interpretation with you. So fast forward to October 21st, 2018. Pastor Nicky Cruz came to preach at a church called Eglise Nouvelle, New Life Church. The name of his sermon was The Power of Forgiveness. And that message was so powerful that many gave their life over to God that same day, on the spot. And you can guess, who do you think was sitting in the back row of that church to hear that message? Me. If you look at my previous video, I had told you that I kept going back and back every week, and I didn't know why I kept going back like a thief, like hiding, hoping nobody would see me in the church or would recognize me. I was there, and I was so touched by that message, so moved by the love and that message of love and compassion, and I wanted that transformation. Like that crazy, possessed man could be here to preach me about the power of the love of God and the power of forgiveness. I wanted some of that. I needed that desperately. So I decided on the spot to surrender my life over to God. I didn't know what that would entail, but I knew that I wanted this. I had never felt this overwhelming love ever in my life. I found my place. The reason why I was able to receive this love was because Pastor David Wilkerson agreed to inconvenience himself, take himself out of his peaceful home, go put his life in danger to go preach to some lost soul in New York, for Nicky Cruz's life to be transformed, and to actually come to my church in my little small city in Quebec, Canada, to preach to me and transform my life. I'm one person. Pastor David Wilkerson was the pastor of the Times Square Church, changing or touching the life of millions of individuals. Nicky Cruz is still with us. Pastor David Wilkerson passed away in 2011, but Nicky Cruz is still very much alive and very much preaching. And he's still transforming the lives of people that nobody cares about. Till this day, he's transforming neighborhoods, dangerous neighborhoods, and bringing people over to a transformed life, saving so many from all the drugs and the violence and the sex and everything that they're dealing with at that moment. He's saving them by the power of his words. Although I decided to give my life over to God at that moment, that's when my transformation started. That's when I started giving access to the pastors to help me and guide me, give me the tools. I started reading my scriptures and involving myself in the community and becoming part of the community and trying to give back to the world because of those events. Even if I chose to give my life to God that day, there was a process, like until I had my baptism, and there was a whole process to that. And I discovered what I still know. I knew that I wanted to follow God, but I didn't know what my purpose was, what he wanted to do with my life specifically. And I'll be sharing that with you in the next video, actually. Until then, I'd like to tell you that you're not alone. You are loved. I love you. And even better, Jesus loves you. Take care of yourself.